Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Reuter, and tonight is an incredibly special night. And I know I say that every single week, but this is a very special night because not only have I known Dr. Eric Effertz for a very long time, we went to the same undergraduate school at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, go Blue Golds, but we also both became chiropractors, and that's just awesome as well. And then we are now working with one another to build the Legendary Chiropractor up to everything that it is, everything that you guys see. There are people, myself included, as well as a full team of students and doctors working on this platform to make it everything into what you see on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis. So, Dr. Eric, without further ado, I want to, first of all, thank you for that. I want to applaud you for just all of your hard work that you put in for the Legendary Chiropractor up to this point. And he is tuning in from Dubuque, Illinois. And when we get back from thanking these initial sponsors, you guys will hear all about his story and how he ended up in chiropractic school and in the position that he's in now, because we're talking all about practices, buying, selling, owning, running, right? All of those details. We're talking all about it tonight. So without further ado, we're cutting to the ad break. We'll be right back in just a moment. To Inspire Women is the elite boutique coaching company for chiropractors who are looking to live life and run business in a way that is personal, unique, and authentic. They focus on business systems and money mindset mastery so you can pay down debt, be more profitable, and serve more people. Their goal is to empower you to achieve success by your own rules and your own definition. Head to toinspirewomen.com now because they know there's a better way. Chiro HD, superior cloud-based practice management software. Chiro HD is a user-friendly, all-in-one EHR solution built with one mission: to help you run your practice like a boss. Learn more at chirohd.com. Dr. Brad Glowacki runs one of the highest volume, highest profile, highest profitability practices in the world, and it's all run with vitalistic communication procedures. Those procedures from his office are then shared with other chiropractors at his various trainings as a part of Level Up mentoring. This information is created, developed, tested, and then packaged simplistically before being taught. With bruises and scars from making mistakes, Dr. Glow always delivers refined content that is battle-tested and simplified for use on Monday. To level up your life and practice, head over to levelupmentoring.rocks. That's levelupmentoring.rocks. Total Clinic Solutions is your go-to source for purchasing both brand new and refurbished chiropractic equipment, as well as phone support for repairs and maintenance. Call Derek and allow him to combine your wishes with 3 years of chiropractic equipment expertise to find what's best for you and your patients at 704-622-4089, or head to totalclinicsolutions.com now. It's time that chiropractors look beyond spinal alignments and measure the nerve connections that keep our patients feeling strong and performing at their peak. CLA designed the Insight scanning technologies to transform exams and generate powerful reports that give practitioners the certainty they have been searching for. Learn how CLA has partnered with practices around the world by going to insightcla.com. Easily share your passion for chiropractic and look good doing it with Above Down Apparel, offering a premium lineup of principled apparel that's impossibly soft, sustainably sourced, and chiropractic AF. Visit abovedown.co and follow them on Instagram to learn more and score yourself some sweet chiro swag. Sked is the all-in-one system that allows for amazing control and flexibility of your scheduling. Yes, your next new hire. Every aspect of when and where you serve customers is at your command. Sked is tightly integrated with your existing EHR system. This software was made by a chiropractor specifically for chiropractic. No joke. Go check out their latest care plan feature by heading to go.sked.life/legendarypod. Dr. David Toohill is an innovative product and marketing strategist, bridging the gap between your vision and strategic plan. He will help you design specific products and processes that are both scalable and set up to produce long-term revenue and growth. He has previously worked with influencers that include Dr. Josh Axe, Jordan Rubin of Ancient Nutrition, Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson, and many, many others. Schedule your call with Dr. Dave today by heading to meetwithdrdave.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. All right, we are back. Thank you all for tuning in. We are live with Dr. Eric Effertz here on the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I could not be more thrilled. We are close friends. We go way back, and I'm excited to hear all about his journey through chiropractic school, post-graduation, right? And then he actually bought a practice in Dubuque, Illinois, and he's going to tell us all about that experience, what that's like, the pros, the cons, the learning, the challenges, everything. He's going to lay it all out there for you. And recent grads and current chiropractic students, this is the podcast to listen to entirely. I promise he's going to bring the heat. He's going to bring the value. So, Doc, first of all, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you come from, and how you got in the position that you're in today.
Absolutely. So I grew up in a little town of Ladysmith, Wisconsin. It's probably an hour and a half north of Eau Claire, if anybody's familiar with that. But went to school there, went to UW Eau Claire, met Johnny, right, Johnny?
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, so, went to Davenport, and I wanted to be a teacher right away. And at first, it was kind of iffy at that point in Wisconsin with all the politics that go on. And my aunt and uncle were chiropractors, and they said, Eric, you should really look into being a chiropractor. You love health, you're an active person, and you can teach people health. You can still teach. You can do all those things that teachers do. So I looked a little more, and I find myself in Davenport, graduating eventually in 2018. And then I went and did an associateship with my aunt and uncle. And it was awesome. I mean, an associateship, it taught me so much, and that's the awesome thing that you're doing here today is helping people understand how important they can be and how valuable they can actually be if you get into the right one. So, that associateship was probably the most important part of my career so far, to be honest with you. Not even buying the practice. It was leading up to it and getting the confidence to do it. So, start of 2020, the great year that everybody knows it is, right? I ended up buying a practice from a doctor that had it for 42 years before me. So bought it from him in 2020, and now I'm just trying to keep it running, Johnny.
You're doing way more. You and I have conversations outside of this, and he's absolutely crushing it. He's way too humble to tell you that. But you hit some speed bumps and you hit some road bumps in the road, and we're going to talk all about those tonight in this conversation, because this is the real, the rawness, the authenticity that we need in the chiropractic profession. Because I reached out to Dr. Eric last minute, and I said, hey, man, come on the show, tell us your story, tell us how you got to the position you're in. And he was like, let's do it. Let's make it happen, right? Because these are the people we have that are going to be leading this chiropractic profession in today's day and age, right? And we still have our solid leaders up at the top, but we got new leaders coming, and Dr. Eric is definitely one of those. So, Doc, we're talking all about pre-graduation prep. I want to dive deep into this. What goes through your head when you're about to walk across the stage at Davenport, at Palmer, and what's going through your head going into your associateship with your aunt and uncle, and then what's going in through your head when you're buying a practice? Go ahead.
To be honest with you, I was maybe one of the luckier ones. I knew what I was doing. There was people who were walking across that stage, still trying to associateships. There were still people walking across that stage that didn't know how their associateship was probably going to go, with not knowing the doctor maybe that well. And they just kind of found somebody who was hiring, and it sounded like the perfect opportunity. So for me, that associateship was, I was feeling really good. I knew what I was getting into. Obviously you trust your aunt and uncle, you know what they're doing, you've seen them do it. and you're like, this is going to be awesome, you know? So going across the stage, I was more excited. I was ready to go. I was actually already at my aunt and uncle's because I was doing the preceptorship. So I was more along the lines of like, hey, like, let me loose, right? Let me loose, let me do this thing. And, but it's a scary step when you first, I mean, your first patient, if any of you young docs out there remember your first patient, you're kind of like, all right, this is a real thing. Like, this is all me, you know? But then, you know, fast forward, I had to, you know, after my associateship and the things you learn at your associateship, everybody, I don't want to say everybody, because not everybody has those same ambitions and those same dreams, but a lot of us, we want to have our own chiropractic office someday. We want to kind of run our own thing, do our own thing, you know, be our own boss and help people, you know, and that was one thing that I really wanted. I wanted to find how to do it, and I did that with them, and I wanted to find, you know, where to do it and, you know, when to do it too. So that was more my mindset. That was more my struggle, I would say, than anything. It wasn't walking across the stage. It wasn't necessarily. It was figuring out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and I'm trying to get to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that you had a great associateship with your aunt and uncle, and how important that preceptor or fellowship is with another doc to learn the foundational skills, to learn and understand how a practice is run before you go out and open your own and or buy a clinic. And I know I'm in it right now. I'm doing the associate thing, and I absolutely love it because I get to show up, I get to learn and work my butt off, and I go home, my brain is completely fried. My body, because we're high volume, right? High volume clinic, and my body is sore. I'm like, I've never iced so much since like high school soccer, right? I'm like, what is going on? How old am I? But that's the kind of mentality that I urge all of you young docs going out into associateships to have, right? This is a time to be a sponge and to ask all of the questions that you want to ask and figure out about not only the chiropractic profession, but also how a business is run from the back end all the way to billing insurance, all the way to the front desks and picking up the phone and answering the phone, right? So those are all critical things that you got to understand and know about. So that's huge. I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I also would say, before you graduate, before you walk across that stage, you mentioned a couple people or maybe a couple classmates that didn't really have lined up what you had lined up, right? And I want all you young docs out there, I want all of the recent grads and students out there to understand that you can have that lined up. You absolutely can. You just have to be able to put in the work at least 3 to 6 months before you graduate, right? So if you're in your last quarter, last couple quarters, last few quarters or tries, that's your best time and most lucrative time to understand if you want to open right away or if you want to go into an associateship, because that's what's going to springboard you forward into lining something up before you walk across that stage, get the diploma, get the degree, and move on. And then you can have all of that excitement Dr. Eric talked about of like, hey, this is the next step of my life, right? This is the next chapter of my life, which is super, super cool. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Now, let's talk about post-graduation. We're going to talk a lot about this. This is the rest of the episode. So I want to talk to you about post-grad, what happened there after you associated, how'd you find what you found, and then we'll get into pros and cons after you tell that story.
Absolutely. So I was associating, it was probably about a year and a half, you know, and like I said, kind of in my intro, associating was probably the most important part of getting to where I'm at today. And a lot of it had to do with, you know, getting confidence in the most important part, which you'll probably learn at your associateship, in communication. If you cannot communicate with your patients, you're going to be in trouble, right? And that is the one thing. Obviously, the business side, you learn that, and you really want to know that because you know what you're getting into. But you can open up a business. You can do a lot of different things. If you can't communicate your message, if you can't communicate why they're coming in your door, and if you can't help them understand you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And that was the one thing I learned in my associateship. And that's why you need to be in the correct one for you, is how to communicate. And if you look at any of the best in professions that have to deal with people, right? I mean, we're talking like teachers, coaches, salesmen, whatever kind of salesmen you want to talk about, nurses, doctors, financial advisors. I mean, if I go to a financial advisor and they don't sound like they know what they're going to do with my money, well, guess what? I'm checking elsewhere, right? And if you don't sound like you know what you're going to do with somebody's body in order to help them, hey, I'm checking elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So that is so crucial in your associateship to gain the confidence, to be able to talk to people, and not only talk to people, you talk to a lot of different people. Not every person is the same. Mm-hmm. So you can't just rattle off the same stuff every time to a patient. I mean, one guy's going to walk in and say, just get it done. Whatever it is, just get it done. Then you got this other person who's going to walk in and they're going to say, I have this wrong with me. And tell you every little thing of how it happened, why it happened. And you need to know how to communicate with each of those people. And that's what associating got for me and built me the confidence in order to say, you know what, I can do this. So that's how that happened. And then I got to a point where, man, Johnny, I was searching. I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? I was like, do I open up? I wanted to go to Madison, Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin's awesome, right? So I was thinking, I think I want to open in Madison, Wisconsin. And I went and I searched and I went through a million buildings, and nothing just seemed to fit, and the prices were lucrative. And I was like, geez, it's going to take a lot of money to get this thing started. And, I never really thought about buying, not right away, and I was always opening. I had friends who opened. They were pretty excited. But then it just, I had a conversation with actually the doctor who I bought the practice from, his nephew. And I told him all about this Madison stuff and trying to open and figure. He's like, my uncle is looking to retire. He's like, go talk to him. Like, here, you know what? I'll even give you his phone number. Just call the guy. You never know what can happen. The worst that can happen is you say no, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to call the guy. So I call him up, and, the rest is pretty close to history. There's a lot of moving parts when you start buying a practice, and we'll get into those. But it just, things happen, and we were talking about that. Opportunity it's all around us, and you just kind of got to knock, and there's the knock, and you got to answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we get back from thanking these sponsors, we are going to come back, talk all about those moving parts, all about the pros and cons of buying a practice and the challenges, the struggles, the wins, the successes that Dr. Eric has experienced as he has now bought his practice, and it has changed some things, and we're going to talk all about how that experience has gone and how it is currently going. We'll be right back, guys. Every chiropractic clinic needs a compliance program. If you are not sure what that includes or why you need one, let Dr. Robin from RHDC Consulting help you build your chiropractic compliance. If you are ready to get started, head to robin-hale.mykajabi.com and let Dr. Robin guide you to the end result. Dr. Christy Wick is revamping the landscape of women's chiropractic coaching. With a focus on connection and congruence, she's on a mission to empower Lady DCs across the nation to create bold, successful lives and practices their way. Get started today by visiting theilluminatedsquad.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Awesome. Welcome back, everyone. So, Doc, talk to us, run us through the pros, the cons, the moving parts, the wins, the challenges, the ups and the downs of purchasing, owning a practice. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So to start off, I would say the biggest pro, to buying a practice is you have automatic cash flow. I mean, when you jump into into that all you're doing is changing a person, right? And that's a big step, obviously, in itself. But when you jump into that practice, hey, right away, cash flow's coming in, which is awesome, right? The con, obviously, to opening, you got nothing coming in, right? You're doing a lot of work, and that was a huge pro to me was, hey, this money's coming in. It's my money. I don't owe it to anybody. It's not a loan. This is crazy. This is awesome, right? And another pro that I've enjoyed was I haven't had to market weekly. I mean, not that I don't call, but I don't go sit at booths. I don't go, to all these different workshops, all these different things to try to get patients. Crazily, right? The phone goes off the hook. They're calling, for the office. And I guess a con to that too, Johnny, is they're not always calling for me, right?
Yep.
Calling, hey, is the old doctor there? Can I see the old doctor? And it's important to train the staff into, hey, the old doctor is not here. The new doctor learned all of the same things that the old doctor did. And, that was probably a really big con, honest with you, Johnny, was, hey, you're stepping into some big shoes, right? I mean, any doctor that has been there for 42 years, whether it's 42 years, 20 years, 10 years, the patients that he has coming in, he's gained their trust. And you have zero of it. You have none of it right now. And it's not that it's, you gain it pretty quickly because this doctor brings you in and he doesn't want to leave you with somebody who's not going to care for you, but that was a pretty big con right away. Was you really had to gain people's trust, and they didn't always mesh with you right away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you brought up some really good points, and I want to reiterate them because the pros here, you're stepping into a practice that hopefully, I want to urge all of the recent grads and current students that if you look into buying a practice, please, 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 please make sure that it is profitable. Right? A lot of docs and a lot of companies out there will kind of pad the stats a little bit and make it seem better than what it is. I'm not saying everyone's like that. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is what I've experienced, what I've seen. There is some padding of stats going on, right? And Dr. Eric is from Wisconsin, so he kind of knows like, how big was the fish? Well, it's pretty big, right? It's a big fish. It's just, that's what it is. So it's like, that's kind of the situation that you fall into, unfortunately, with buying a practice or when people are selling their practice. They want to make it out to be the best sale. They want to make it out to be the best thing that it can be. So be careful, be conscientious of that. But when you step into a profitable practice, like Dr. Eric said, the pro is that you have automatic cash flow right out of the gate. Right? And that's super important to understand. But again, you got to do your homework on the back end to make sure that you're stepping into a good position. The second thing is decrease marketing, right? Because you're going to have internal referrals, but the con of that, the flip side of that is going to be team communication. How does your team communicate with the current patients as well as with the patients that are calling on the phone who were referred by someone blank amount of months or years ago that are like, hey, is so-and-so still there? Or, hey, what does that conversation really look like for your team, for your staff to handle that, right? So I think that's really important. Those are really important key points. And I would also urge people to understand that the way that Dr. Eric has done this, he went from school to an associateship where he mentioned that he gained an incredible amount of confidence. And then he took that confidence and competence and now has been able to apply it to his own practice and make this new practice into what it is today, right? So I want to thank some last sponsors. When we come back from this, Doc, I want to talk to you all about maybe, what the overall grand scheme of things are with your practice now, how you changed the name, kind of how you made those transitions happen, and what the patient's responses were. So we'll be right back, guys. Dr. Stu Hoffman, founder and president of ChiroSecure Malpractice Insurance, foremost expert in both risk management and risk avoidance. Understanding the everyday challenges of today's practicing chiropractor and the current public perception of chiropractic has made ChiroSecure the fastest growing malpractice insurance program of the last 28 years. Find out more at chirosecure.com. Imaging Services' primary business is chiropractic solutions. With over 45 years in the industry of helping chiropractors, Michael Tokash offers free consultations on building your business. In the past year, Imaging Services has installed over 100 X-ray machines and digital X-ray systems in over 42 states across the United States. For more, head to theimagingservices.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Sweet. All right, Doc, wrap this show up. Talk to us a little bit about, the team communication, but that full transition period of flipping the practice to a new name, new logo, new doc, all of that. Talk to us.
Johnny, flipping it was it's a lot more difficult than you may think. When you jump into something brand new, I think the hardest part for me was changing my techniques a little bit, right? When you go into a practice that this guy has ran it for 42 years and he has a whole different clientele than I was used to, right? You have to be able to be very, very adaptive and versatile, right? So I actually was with him for about 2 months before I even officially took over. And I went room to room to room to room with him to make sure that I could perform the same technique that he did. And it was probably, it was a draining time because you're trying to watch, you're trying to figure out the technique because you have to give it to these people. When you buy a practice, you just right away flip it into what you want it. You have to make it slow. You have to build that trust with them and open them up to different possibilities, but at the same time still give them why they were coming back there for the last 20 to 40 years. So, not everything was perfect by any means. And even with the doctor, it's, you always have little things that you talk about, and he ran it this way, but, this is a new kind of thing going on. Here we have a new way of doing it, new systems. That's, to make sure that when you buy a practice, you are aware of everything that's going on and you are aware of how it was exactly ran before you were there. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know the way it was ran before you were there, you are jumping into something that you're going to see the stress in the patients. They're going to tell other patients that they know that go there, that it just doesn't seem fluent. He doesn't seem to fit in. So I would say, the biggest thing to take away from buying a practice is do your homework on buying it from and get there and watch them. Shadow them, see how their systems work, see what their communication is, and start making mental notes of what you need to change, but you got to be careful in doing it right away.
Yeah, for sure. And I would argue that's one of the most important and critical periods that you kind of mentioned here is that overlap that you have with that previous doc. And unfortunately, a lot of these rough practice for sales go is doc puts up the practice for sale, finds somebody and just jets, right? And just leaves. Yep. And it's like, that doesn't do any good to the patients that are there. But at the same time, that doc that just left might not care, right? And all they want to do is get out of Dodge, unfortunately. And I'm really glad that wasn't the case for you, and you were able to find some time to overlap with this guy and really start to learn his systems, learn his procedures, learn his technique. And also, you got to learn their communication style too, because if say that doc's not doing, re-exams or reassessments, right? And you want to start doing those things, right? It's going to take some time with the patients that are currently there to get them up to the speed with that level, right? The new patients, it might be a little different. You can work on that flow right away, but out of the gate with old patients who have been there for a long time, You don't really want to throw a wrench in the gear there. That's not really ideal for anybody. And then, like you said, they talk. Everybody talks. Everybody talks to everybody. And then if you're in a town in Illinois, a small town in Illinois or a small town in Wisconsin, you know exactly what that can do. And reputation in small towns is critical. It's absolutely huge. So you got to be aware of that. You got to be conscientious of that. So without further ado, Doc, close us out of the show. Give some words of advice to recent grads, students out there. That's how we're going to close the show tonight. Go ahead.
I'd say the biggest thing is to never be in a tunnel vision when it comes to being a student or even a recent grad, right? I think we all get set on, hey, I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or I'm doing, and it's good to have goals. It's good to have a vision, but things can change in the snap of a finger. So keep always an open mind to what can happen and the opportunities that are available to you, and don't shut them out, and maybe give them a chance, and that there's people out there, the richest people in the world, right? They all have that one story, Johnny, right? How, hey, I just quit my job and I started a bookstore in my garage, right? I did this, and now look where I am. And it all takes one opportunity, one thing that you see that maybe it doesn't even have, nobody else has to see it. It could be just you. And if you find that, keep an open mind. And then once you see it, just jump on it. Hey, nobody's stopping you but yourself,
Absolutely.
And just get that diploma. And at the end of the day, go help people. And you're not going to do anything wrong by doing that.
For sure. Get the degree and then spread your wings and start helping people. Dr. Eric said it here first, folks. Dr. Eric Effertz, everybody, thank you so much for being on the show, Doc. I appreciate you. I love you. I make sure that that you send my love to people in Wisconsin because I miss Wisconsin on a daily basis. Every time I'm up there, always grab some spotted cow, and then bring it home and think about the good old days in Eau Claire. And just having a good time. So I appreciate you, Doc. I hope everyone heads to the legendarychiro.com/go, legendarychiro.com/go. Check out everything that we have to offer. Check out all of the amazing sponsors linked above in the description of this show because they're all absolutely incredible. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a very powerful week this week and a lovely rest of your evening. Bye, guys.